Welcome back. Thank you for joining me for Unit 2 Writing Summative Workshop number 3. Okay, so today we're going to be wrapping up the drafting of your essay. We're going to be adding the wrap up concluding sentences to your body paragraphs, which is the final piece of the body paragraph. And then we're going to also be finishing your introduction and conclusion. Just like with the other workshop videos, I would suggest that you work through this one part at a time. Pausing when I suggest that you pause so that you can complete each step before the next step is talked about and modeled for you. All right. So I have the assignment open on Canvas so that I can be looking at the instruction slides. We're starting on slide 15 today, the concluding wrap up sentence. And then I also have the sample essay open that I have been writing to show you how to write this. Okay, so this is the topic sentence. The concluding wrap up sentence is going to be the topic sentence restated plus. The plus is the idea or details previewed by the elaboration on the topic sentence. Then you want to make sure also that this is just one sentence, that it's written differently than the topic sentence. You might try starting with a transition word to help signal readers that you're giving a summary of the paragraph. If you click this link right here, it will take you to a handout of transition words. I also gave this handout out in class, so if you're absent today, please ask for one when you return. Then I also gave you a formula for this, so I will show you how this formula works, and there's an example on the slide, but I'm about to show you an example now. All right, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for two pieces of information in my first two sentences of my body paragraph. I need to know what the strategy is that I've suggested in this paragraph, and I need to know the reason why I gave why the strategy is helpful. So looking at this sentence, the strategy I'm talking about in this paragraph is using an agenda, and looking at my elaboration on the topic sentence where I talk about why I want to do this. It's for keeping track of what I need to do and reducing stress with smart scheduling. Okay, so now I can work these into my concluding wrap up sentence. So I'm going to go to the end of my paragraph. We're going to be highlighting these things purple so that I can see the text easily. I'm going to make my text yellow. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a transition word that indicates that I'm giving a summary. So I'm just going to use in summary. In summary. And let me go ahead and make this sentence bigger so that you can see it better. All right, there we go. In summary. Then the next thing that you can do is give the strategy. Use an agenda to, and then I need to say how it helps, why I'm using it. So remember, I was keeping track of what I need to do and reducing stress with smart scheduling. Okay. So in summary, use an agenda to keep track of what you need to do and reduce stress with smart scheduling. All right, now I have my wrap-up sentence. So go ahead and pause this video and add your wrap-up sentence. Before you press play to move on, if you're in the classroom right now just working on a previous writing workshop because you missed a day and you're a little bit behind, you might even have me check your wrap up sentence to make sure that it's good before you add your other two. But go ahead and add your wrap up sentences to your body paragraphs at this time. And then when you're ready to move on to the next part, then you're going to go ahead and press play. All right, welcome back. So you must have added your wrap up sentences. It's really important that you've added them to all three of the body paragraphs and not just your first one. So make sure that all three are done. If not, another step that we do later in this workshop is going to be impossible to do because you don't have them all done. All right, so our next step is going to be fleshing out the introduction. So we're going to be adding the bridge background and we're going to be adding the hook and opener. The bridge background, we're going to highlight green, and the hook opener, we're going to highlight yellow. So, looking at the bridge background, you should be discussing the issue of the problem that high school students face with balancing busy schedules with a healthy lifestyle. And you should be addressing the questions: why do high school students in particular you could be in your background addressing the questions: why do high school students in particular struggle with this problem? What changes when you come to high school? You could briefly describe your experience. These are all legitimate things to do in the background. Another thing that you need to make sure that you do is mention the two articles by title that you're going to use as evidence. And this is going to be 2 to 3 sentences in length. So it doesn't have to be super long. So I'm going to go up to my introduction and I'm going to put my mouse in front of my thesis because my thesis should be the very last thing in the essay. And then I'm going to type an idea or two about high school students and maybe why they struggle with this problem. Oopsies. So I'm typing, when you get to high school, there are many more demands on your time, and meeting those demands is more important than ever. In addition to the classes you take, there are teams, clubs, friends, jobs, all competing for your time and attention. So now I have 2 sentences just kind of explaining a little bit about why this is an issue for high school students. Then I want to add in the idea that there are articles that I'm going to be getting advice from. So you could say something like, advice for time management and staying healthy is offered in the articles, and list the article titles. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about wording this. The way that I'm going to show you is just one way. I'm going to go ahead and bold this sentence though, because this is a sentence that I am okay with you taking as is. That said, you shouldn't be copying anything else that I'm writing. That would be plagiarism. Even if you change a couple words, it's still my idea that you're taking, and so that would still be plagiarism. So make sure that you are substituting your own ideas when you are typing your sentences in these sections. So I have written the articles Take charge of your health and 10 ways to improve time management for students. Offer health and time management tips to teens. And then I have my um, thesis statement. All right. So go ahead and pause this video until you've added your background, and then you can hit play again and we'll do the next part. Okay, so the very next part that we're going to do is the hook opener. The hook opener is just like it's your attention getter. It's what's going to pull your reader into the topic. You want to make sure that you're not plagiarizing the prompt. You also want to make sure um, that you are not using a question for your hook or your opener. If you are, the simple thing to do is just to change it to a statement. And you also want to make sure that it's relevant to the topic. So you can consider making it a general statement about time management, healthy living, or finding a balance between a busy schedule and staying healthy. That's probably the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to go back to my essay and I'm going to put my cursor in front of my background. Since I'm done typing this part, I'm going to go ahead and put it back to 18 so it matches the rest. Remember, you're typing in 12-point fonts, and this should be highlighted yellow. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the broad statement idea. And I'm just going to say that finding a balance between a healthy lifestyle and a busy schedule can be difficult. Let me go ahead and blow this up so you can see it better. So it's just a general statement that relates to what I'm going to say, and it flows really nicely into my bridge background because I talk about why it's difficult for high school students in particular. All right, so go ahead and press pause until you have your hook in, and then press play to start to talk about how to finish up your conclusion. All right, if you're back, then that means that you're ready to finish up your conclusion. So there are three parts that we're adding. The first part we're going to highlight purple. That's the synthesis of the body's main ideas. We're going to add your so what, which we're going to color code pink. And we're going to add your closer in yellow. Okay, so let's first talk about the synthesis of the body's main ideas. So you don't want this to be more than 3 sentences long. It does need to recap each of the 3 strategies and briefly sum up why it helps. You also need to copy or you can start by copy and pasting each of your concluding wrap-up sentences after your restatement of the thesis. But you want to make sure that these are written differently than the concluding wrap-up sentences. So you're going to need to flip or invert them, kind of like we did with the restatement of the thesis in this conclusion. So let me show you how to flip one of your concluding wrap-up sentences. So I'm going to grab my first concluding wrap-up sentence from my very first body paragraph, copy, and I'm going to take it and put it right after. Okay, so to flip this, the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to delete the transition. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, instead of mentioning the strategy first, I'm going to mention the strategy last, and I'm going to tell why I'm using the strategy first. So I'm going to take out use an agenda, and I'm going to put it at the end. Now I have to keep track of what you need to do and reduce stress with smart scheduling. Use an agenda. There we go. So you're going to do that with all three of your concluding wrap up sentences. And you're going to flip your concluding wrap up sentence. Body paragraph 3. Okay, and when you've done that, then you have completed your synthesis of body's main ideas. All right, go ahead and press pause until you have that finished. All right, welcome back. You must be ready to move on to the so what. So the so what is where you kind of go broader and give the reader some ideas to why this is so important to know. Um, why this is meaningful information for them to have read about. So it's going to talk about the greater significance of the ideas, and it's good. You want to make sure that this isn't more than a couple sentences. So, what you're thinking about for this essay is thinking about how learning to balance a busy schedule with a healthy lifestyle can help beyond high school. You can also think about how time management and healthy living are important life skills, not just student skills. Okay, so those are a couple different directions you can go with it. They're not the only directions. I'm going to show you a third direction actually with my example. So, the first thing that you probably want to do in this synthesis of the body's main ideas is you want to acknowledge the fact that are, there are many other strategies. These are just three. So, you could actually say that there are many other strategies. These are just three. I'm going to say these are just three ways you can manage your time and live healthy. Then I'm going to go on to say the most successful students are the ones that are able to employ strategies that work for them to maintain a balance between taking care of themselves and fulfilling their responsibilities. Okay. So there's my so what. It tells, why this is significant. So mine doesn't necessarily go to talk about kind of beyond high school, although this successful student thing could imply that these study skills then would transfer onto college and be beneficial. So I suppose they go beyond high school in that way. But otherwise, they're just kind of telling why these are important things beyond some of the reasons that we've talked about um, in the body paragraphs. So this kind of expands it to the idea that these are kind of essential these are essential skills for success. All right, go ahead and pause until you have your so what added, and then come back for the final piece. All right, welcome back. We're going to talk about adding your closer now. So, as far as what you want for your closer, it should relate to the topic. Hook opener. This gives the reader the sense that we have come full circle. You want to make sure it's one sentence. Some closing strategies include echoing the introduction, challenging the reader, looking to the future, and posing questions. So you don't want to start with a question, but you could for sure end with a question. Um, Looking to the future, so like saying in the future and giving them something that they could do in the future or might think about it in the future. If you want to see more examples of closing strategies, there is a link in the presentation to a set of slides just about writing conclusions. But the route I'm going to take is I'm going to challenge the reader. I'm going to challenge the reader in particular to use one of these strategies. So I'm going to say, consider trying one of these strategies to improve your time management and health. All right. So once you have your conclusion, your closure, that's it. You have finished the essay. Good job. All right. So we'll see you next time for self evaluation and revision.